Hello and welcome back to the channel for another delightful video by myself. Doing really well so far. 4 million views on my first video. Haha, got ya. No, I haven't. It's only been up a couple of days, but would have been good though, wouldn't it? So I've just finished work on this glorious afternoon, and some of you may or may not know that this weekend is German car festival at Silverstone, and I've been lucky enough to be able to get myself on the E36 King's stand, and included in the ticket price is entry and 20-minute track time. So I'm leaving it late as per usual. I need to sort out an exhaust leak, I need to fit some new front pads, which I'll show you in a minute, and finally fit the BC Racing drop links that I got on my coilovers about 2 years ago, maybe. I don't know, Steve will comment in a minute and tell me I'm wrong, he likes doing that. So first things first is we've jacked the car up. Ta-da! Right, just a couple of simple tips on jacking your car up. Yeah, all right, if you work on your car all the time you're not going to want to hear this, but if you're new to working on your car and stuff like that, it's there's always helpful tips and stuff like that. So what I do is put the car in neutral, put the handbrake on, locate the jack, take the handbrake off, and then jack the car, because you need the jack and the car to be able to move in unison. Otherwise, where you jack the car up, the E36 is up, the jack will slide off the front subframe, and then you'll end up with a hole in the sump or your head or something silly like that. Right, so the pads. We have Ferodo DS Performance Race Bred Technology pads. Race spec pads for the road. Now, I haven't just gone off and bought some of these just on a whim. A friend of mine used them on a track day when we went to Castle Combe, and his stopping power was considerably more than mine. I'm currently running Fenwick discs with, I think, Brembo pads, and we lasted about maybe 5-6 laps without brake fade, which isn't too bad really. Oh, there's some polish there, that's good, isn't it? So it isn't too bad, but he was able to carry on. But as he's a good friend and a champ, he pulled off with me so we could let the cars cool down and go again. These are the drop links you get free with BC coilovers when you buy them. Pretty cool, eh? Amazing. That's what we like. We always like free stuff, don't we? It also comes with stickers and a key ring. Woo! Yeah, so if you haven't bought yourself some BC coilovers, there's 3 reasons why to already. So now we're gonna take the wheels off. I haven't really thought about how I'm going to do this. I haven't brought my tripod with me, so yeah, there might be some clever wedging of the phone in some places, which isn't going to be great, but you know, we'll wing it and see what happens. So now I've got the car in the air. What I'm going to do is first I'm going to check the wheels for play before I take them off. You don't have to every time, but I do it just out of standard practice, just to make sure everything's, it'll give you a good indication of what is good and what isn't on the car, and then, you know, we'll go from there. Right, so we're going to go top and bottom, absolutely solid, right to left, absolutely solid, a little spin, a little bit of pad rub, nothing major. I've already loosened the wheel nuts with my bar. You don't have to, but I always like doing that. Don't drop the wheel. Oh, well, that's the back of the wheel damaged. Right, so got the wheel off. Everything looks pretty good actually. I'll bring you over for a look. Up underneath here, good old BCs there, look. 2 years, no maintenance. I did actually take them apart and grease them before I put them on the car, so. Right, and the discs look okay. Doesn't look like there's any cracking from them yet. So, we're all good. I haven't long replaced the pads, because my other ones were spent after the track day. But, okay, let's crack on, shall we? always stash your nuts in a good place. Hopefully I've left the keys in ignition. No, I haven't. Another good thing to mention actually is, if you are a newbie to doing brakes and stuff like this, always remove the cap off the brake master cylinder, because if you don't, when you push the piston back in the caliper, you'll overpressure it and muck it up basically, and you won't have any pressure in your brakes, and your pedal will feel all spongy, and it's all around you're going to have a bit of a bad day. So make sure you do that, kids. Oh, that's broken. Can't remember if there's a 6 or a 7. I think there's 6. No, there's a 7. Why am I not using power tools, I hear you say? Because I'm poor and I don't own any. That's why. It's not like hardly exotic and is battery powered ratchet. Who needs one of them, eh? See, job done. No messing around. So at this point, I'd probably grab a screwdriver and just say, pull the caliper towards you, wedging the screwdriver against the disc. It's not the ideal thing to do, but you know, it then relieves the piston a little bit so you can take the caliper off. But I've left it in the garage. I'll be back in a second. I'll just edit that bit out. It's fine. Beautiful. And off she comes. One pad out. 2 pad out. Hang that over there for a minute. Now, if you're replacing a disc, I wouldn't advise just hanging the caliper over the top of the dust shield like that, because believe me, if you've got to hit the disc to get it off because it's stuck, the caliper swings down and hits you in the forehead. Yeah, it's a lot. So if you're doing any sort of brake work where you need to remove a disc, or you're banging or tapping around, you're going to be quite a lot of movement in the car. Make sure you either get a caliper hanger or cable tie it to the coilover spring. Do as I say, not as I do. Got my brush, get rid of all that. Yeah, lovely. In fact, I'm going to go and get my skinny one, because that's going to work a lot better. Oh, you snapped off of there with your bracket to hold my ABS sensor onto the coilover. It's snapped off. We'll deal with that later. It's fine. Don't breathe the stuff in because it's quite dangerous. Right, brake pad time. Ooh. Well, you can see there's more metal in them already. They do look a lot more hard wearing, plus they've got a split in the middle, which does help with cooling, to be so brick cool looking pad. Grab a little piece of copper grease. Some people use copper grease, some people don't. When I was a wee lad, an apprentice, in a little sleepy town of Bishop's Waltham, a garage called the Village Garage, my boss Steve and my mentor Gary Court, still there, Filet Gaza, Right, mate. They didn't believe in copper grease, but I've turned to the dark side and I've started using it. What do you think about that then? Right, a little bit on that one. Lovely. Always good to put a little bit on the back, especially on the little 2 dabs there where the caliper sits on the pad. I've never had one stick to a pad, but you know, if I don't do it, you know what's going to happen, don't you? It's going to end up with a stick and caliper. You can use a pair of vice grips to do this, but you know, this is probably the only posh tool I own, so I'm going to use it. It does take a bit of a while though, let's be honest. Probably could have done it with a pair of grips right now, like by now, and be on the other side, but look at that, winding back, beautiful. That is perfect. While you're here, it's a good chance to check your sliders and pads. Now, I only did these literally a month or so ago, and I used some grease in there, which is still there, but as you can see, they're a bit dirty. So while I'm here, I'm just going to whip them out, clean them, re-grease them, put them back in. Back to the garage again for a cloth. Now for these, I'm going to be using multi-purpose grease. You can use like lithium rubber grease, but I've always used multi-purpose and I've never had a problem. It's cheaper. You can get it from Halfords. You know, it's easy. Number 1. Come on, there you come. Oh, I've got greasy hands now. There we go. Yeah, that one's a little bit dirty, but nothing major. Beautiful. Ram that back in there. I mean, put it back in there carefully. Right, now it's time for the inside pad, which if not that one, because that one hasn't got any copper grease on it. This one, which if my calculations are correct, should go straight in there. And that should fit tightly on there. Now, that's another thing I like doing. I like to push the sliders in so you can hear them and feel them locate in the threads, because they're a little bit tapered at the end. If you don't do that and start winding, they are very, very easy to cross thread. Doesn't matter which one you start with first. Don't know why. I've always started at the bottom and worked my way up. That's what I'm trying to do now. Don't have to go mad with these, just tight. I mean, talk to spec, obviously. Once you've tightened them and you're happy you're tight, always put your dust covers back on, because once they're on, you know you're tight and you're finished. Now, just the spring clip, which you can use a screwdriver floor, but I haven't got my big one, so I'm just going to manhandle it. Oh, look at that. Beautiful. Doesn't look like my disc is running true. It's a little bit warped. That might be why I've got a slight wheel wobble at high speed. But today, we're going to ignore that and we're going to carry on, because it's not that bad. Discs are like brand new anyway, so you know, what's the worst that could happen? Right, So another pro tip too, while you're here, always wire brush your hub every time you take the wheel off. Put a smidgen of copper grease on it, and then wire wheel out the centre of the back of your wheel where it meets the hub too, and again the tiniest amount of grease. That'll stop your wheel getting seized on your hub. So if you get stuck out in the middle of nowhere and you've got a puncture and you jack the car up and your wheel's stuck on, it's going to be even more of a nightmare, and especially if it's raining and you're going to spend more time outside fixing your stupid car than you have to. So we've done the one side. Don't think you really need to see me do the other side, do you? I might wedge my phone up and just do one of those fast forwardy type things, just so you can see that I've done it, and then you can join me in a minute when we have a look underneath to see if there's anything hanging off or needs tightening. No, in this car probably, I'd say so. Right, I'll see you in a minute. Okay, I lied, but I've just discovered something really cool in the brake pad box. I'll turn the camera around. Free stickers! Who doesn't like free stickers? For rodo racing, and for when you're working on someone else's car and you've put new brake pads in and you forget to tell them. So you can stick that on the windscreen just by the driver's eye view, right in the middle, so they know it's got new brake pads on, or even just leave it on the seat, you know, and don't stick it anywhere so you can reuse it. Top tip, pro tip that. So all the drop links and pads are now in. Excuse the tappiness. Oh, lovely. So the reason my engine is tappy is that a friend of mine regrinds cams. We went a little bit special on these cams, and I think we went a bit overboard because they're slightly too aggressive for the drive chain. We did think this might happen. Basically there's nothing wrong with the engine, it's absolutely fine. It's obviously sensible you put new lifters in when you fit new cams, don't you? Sometimes things aren't possible because of delivery time and wait times and stuff like that, or you like me and you go, wasn't loud before, so they all should be good, shouldn't they? Surely. Yeah, well, lesson learned, you know, if you cheap out or you don't do things properly, you end up with problems, and that is one, because it drives me insane. So I've had a quick look at the exhaust. It doesn't appear to be blowing anywhere, although I am missing a rubber underneath, which I think I've got a spare, so I'll sort that out in a bit. But it does sound quite decent, doesn't it? Oh yeah, that is a cammed M50B25. So I just thought I haven't really introduced you to the compact, have I? We'll do a video on that at another time, but basically it hasn't always looked like this. It was a stock 316i, and now it's slightly less stock. Excuse the dirtiness inside, because it's also a bit of a daily, so you know, the kids' seat and the stuff on the floor, and you know. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is the best smelling car freshener you'll ever buy. A vanilla aroma, little trees, or yellow tree as I like to call it. And my headlining seems to have fallen down today. So that's another thing on the list to fix now. Thanks. So I'd say prep for Silverstone is nearly done. There's a few little things to do on the car. Like I'll nut and bolt check a few things that I need to double check fluids and stuff like that. I'm going to check water level, oil level at the back there, and the power steering level, which is down here, right the way down there, hidden in, there it is, which it does look like it's leaking out the top of the lid. Surprise, surprise. 3 Series BMW with a leaky power steering reservoir. Who knew? So I think that will conclude today's video. Hope you've had fun. You might learn something, might not. You might think I'm a complete idiot, but hey, this is me, this is what I do, this is how I do it. Till next time.